I was going to say welcome to all of you to Tressell, Hastings and Tressell land, and I don't, it's gone quiet. I don't know, I'm looking at the back, people are nodding, so I think they quite like it loud. And I don't know if John McDonald remembers, but we shared a platform in Lewis, I think, as part of the Tressell Festival there, and he's a very important person in Mugsborough, as he wrote about all those years ago. And also, I was going to say that myself and some of the comrades here from Hastings and Rye went over to the Brighton LRC meeting when unfortunately John was taken ill, seriously ill, so I'm so pleased you're here today, and thank you. And also we heard the legendary Tony Benn. And that inspired me to join the LRC. I've been thinking about it for years, and we must remember that Claire informs me that it's actually 1 year today that Tony died, and his legend will carry on through all of us, I'm sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the lead up to the launch today. I'm going to talk a bit about the Hastings and Rye Labour Party and the council, and then, as Claire mentioned, in fact, I should be Sarah Owens standing here. Really, she is probably at least, if not more, 30 years younger than I am. Can I please emphasise that she really wanted to be here. Something very important has come up and she couldn't be here. So I will end by reading her statement, which is particularly about Triton. So firstly, just to talk about leading up to here, for the Hastings and Rother LRC branch, we've had 2 informal meetings this year. The first one on a Friday evening had 13 people crammed into Dawn's living room in Hollington, and we all agreed that it was a good idea to set up a local branch to attract people who are not only on the left of the Labour Party, but as Simeon said, those people who aren't in the Labour Party that we really need to work with and unite on the left, and those people, we've had many in Hastings and Rye who've left, unfortunately, again, as we heard about the teachers, the Iraq War and everything else. So, but we are about organising for a Labour government, and here in Hastings and Rye for a Labour MP. As socialists, having a local branch of the LRC would enable us to steer the Labour Party to the left and have good debates and speakers as the LRC currently does in Brighton. So when we met in January, we talked about Trident, and I think Simeon's he's given me loads of information, very inspiring speech, so thanks to Simeon, and here we are today. We also talked about the housing crisis and how important that is to address, and austerity cuts. The good news is also we were able to raise £110 at that first meeting, which I've still got actually in an envelope, it is here, if anyone wants to see it, and I haven't left the country, and it does put us in a healthy position. So Claire came over to our second meeting in February and talked us through what we need to do to set up a local branch. We need a minimum of 10 members. I'm pleased to say we've got double that and more today. And please can I urge all of you in Hastings and Rother who haven't joined, the forms are at the back here, and the money comes up to the top table. So that's really good. Claire told us that in Brighton and in Sussex we link with local campaigns. I was just going to say in Hastings and Rother we have done that by supporting our local firefighters in their struggle on the pensions issue, joining picket lines with them and with the NHS and local government when they've had to resort to strike action. And we are lucky here in Hastings and Rye to have a really active trades council. Again, here's their lovely banner and this very smart, very red leaflet, and that's really important in terms of the relationship with the Trades Council and the Labour Party and the unions. Claire did advise us, so I do listen, we need a date for a follow-up meeting from today. We're going to leave that till after the general election on the 7th of May because we've just got to be out there on the streets and using every minute we've got. But could comrades in Hastings and Rye rather no, 22nd of May, which is a Friday, we're going to try Friday again at 6 p.m, and that will be at the Ellen Draper Centre, the Labour Party headquarters, 84 Bohemia Road. So that's the background to that. I want to talk now a bit about the Hastings and Rye Constituency Labour Party. I'm very proud to be the chair of such a vibrant and active Labour Party, and we have a thriving General Committee. And I wanted to tell you just about a few of the resolutions. We resisted partnership into power. We kept together through all the Blair attacks on constituency organisation, and we had enough people to fill a room and standing room only, and I'm really proud of that. So, some of the resolutions we've passed over the last 12 months or so. As Christopher Hunt was mentioned, we condemned him for crossing the picket line at Queen Mary College. Many of you may know, ironically, he was about to deliver a talk on Marxism. So how ironic is that? A lecture on Marxism. We called on the Labour Party to support the 4-to-1 campaign relating to the ratio of nurses to patients in NHS care. And that was really good. Andy Burnham actually responded positively to us and got that motion incorporated into the National Policy Forum documentation. We called on the next Labour government to enable the building of suitable 1- and 2-bedroom social housing properties, which we've also heard about, and we welcomed Ed Miliband's commitment to increase the number of health professionals in the NHS, and called on all Labour candidates to sign up to the pledge initiated by the Trades Council on defending the NHS. We also called for a halt on the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, and we had a brilliant meeting in this room organised by the Trades Council. And the last point I'll make is that we've agreed a resolution to deplore the inhumane sanctions levelled at benefit claimants. And I, just as an aside, I'm working in Eastbourne at the moment, and I've spent some time at the food bank in Eastbourne, and it's absolutely shocking, the numbers that are having to, and generally it is because of change of circumstances and sanctions against benefit claimants. Right, on to our track record for winning elections in Hastings and Rye. We're never complacent, we have them every 2 years, so we're always on the go, and we have county-council elections as well. For the past 12 months, we have had the highest canvassing contact rate in the country, and I hope comrades here will all join in the campaign to boot our sitting Tory MP Amber Rudd out. There's no business being here in Hastings and Rye, and ensure that our Labour candidate Sarah Owens is elected. We also have a very strong Labour Council, and which is introducing really positive initiatives such as the landlord registration scheme. We are renowned for our Blockbusters scheme and many other policies. There's quite a few of our Labour councillors here this afternoon. Last year in the local elections in May, it resulted in the largest Labour majority ever here in Hastings, with 24 out of 32 councillors. I was going to say, though, when I was first elected, and people forget this, in 1998, that was the first time Hastings ever had a Labour council. Yeah. So people seem, we might think it's been there forever. It hasn't. It's only since 1998. I'm pleased that our Deputy Leader of the Council is here taking some photographs, and the Leader of our Council, Jeremy Birch, has sent his apologies, he's not well. We remain a UKIP-free zone. And in Rother, we have a different picture, very much so, and we have 2 stalwart Labour councillors against the onslaught of the right-wing Tory council in Rother, but we're very optimistic. There's elections in Rother this May that we're going to make gains, and we have some brilliant candidates standing. So finally, I'll move on, comrades, to Sarah Owens' statement here. She's given me the statement on Trident. She's asked me to read it out. But I will urge you, if you have any other issues you want to raise with Sarah, to either go onto her website or her Facebook page, or ring 424125, which is that's the Hastings code, 01424 424125, which is our Labour Party headquarters. So, just a sip of water and then I'll read it. Please accept my apologies for not being able to join you today. I would have loved to have joined you to discuss the issues and to show that the fight for social justice is alive and well across Hastings and Rother and Rye. I have shared my feelings on the issue of renewing Trident in public meetings before. Not so long ago, in this very room, alongside the Vice President of the CND, Rebecca Johnson. Like the former Labour MP for Hastings and Rye, Michael Foster, I have serious concerns about Trident, and I also fail to see the need to renew our nuclear programme like for like. This is partly down to my own personal values, that I would rather invest money on more positive things for our society, rather than spending money in preparation for a day that I believe will never come, and many experts have said it is increasingly unlikely. A separate British nuclear weapon system like Trident is being seen as increasingly redundant, especially in an era when the West already has a massive nuclear arsenal. But this is also a pragmatic decision, because we live in a different world and the nature of war has changed. When these nuclear programs were envisaged, war was very much state versus state, bloc versus bloc, and army versus army. This is no longer the situation we face. As much as Russia's recent actions are reminiscent of those days, sadly, it is more often the case that war involves civilian populations and non-state militants, where mutually assured destruction is not a useful deterrent. This week, again, we have heard more cuts announced to our armed forces, yet we were asking more and more from them, from the Middle East to humanitarian work in West Africa, assisting in the Ebola crisis. Our armed forces are continuously stretched. There needs to be an honest, evidence-led debate about how the UK focuses its defence budget for the future. Clearly, if we do not renew Trident, there will be consequences for their workforce. My great-great-grandfather was a shipbuilder in the northeast, and I know the devastation that losing an industry can do to an area. So any moves to scale down or end the Trident programme should work with the local community to find an alternative industry to offset the jobs lost. That will be no easy task, but it can be done. I wish you all a very productive meeting, and here is to the start of Hastings and Rother LRC. Thank you, comrades.